Hello, my YouTube family. I'm so glad to be with you again. I'm sorry that I hadn't been coming on live, but on next week I will start coming on live again. My schedule has really been off the charts. I will be in the country for a few weeks. So I plan to come on live with you. God has really blessed, and thank you so much for those of you, all of my new subscribers, and the emails that I'm getting. You are keeping it coming, and I am totally elated. Thank you so much for your support. Once again, I am here to answer your questions and to make sure that you know that you are not alone as you travel through this journey, overcoming the torment, overcoming the different painful relationships and aspects of that relationship, dealing with narcissism. Many of you have gotten answers that you did not know what it was or why you were going through things. And if you could ever get beyond it, you can get beyond anything that has confront you. You have a God that is bigger than any problem. You have a God that is bigger than any trial. So it doesn't matter how impossible it seems. I want you to know that God is the God of impossibilities and that he will make all things possible for you. Hang in there and stay encouraged. Those of you who are in C, stay in C. I promise you it gets better every day, and it is one day at a time. Let's answer your questions. You were asking me, why do I feel so terrible after the narcissistic relationship, and why do I'm not sleeping? I'm afraid. I seem terrible with relationships. I'm afraid of relationships. And you say that I'm afraid to talk about it. I'm afraid to go out. That sounds like PTSD. PTSD is something that not only military soldiers deal with in war, but sometimes you in a narcissistic relationship go through all the trauma like you are in a war, because that is a vicious, torturous, painful relationship. And it doesn't matter how long you are married to a narcissist, you never know them, because they always transpose an imagery that they can never fulfill. The narcissists always live vicariously through other people, and they want to transfer all the emptiness and the pain and the wanting to be loved to you. You are able to love, you are able to care, you're able to feel compassion. The narcissists crave that, but they have an inability to do that because NPD does not allow that. When we deal with PTSDs, post-traumatic stress syndrome, I want you to know that when you are dealing with post-traumatic stress syndrome, that it's what happens after relationship, after things are over. That's why they call it post. And so you are having different effects from the pain that you went through. It has scarred your brain. It's in your memory, it's in your sensory. It has effect on your eye gate, your nose gate, your mouth gate, your feel gate, your ear gate. When you hear certain things, it channels memory. A lot of times they call this a personality disorder, but a lot of therapists and a lot of psychiatrists don't agree with that, because one thing they were saying is reoccurring torment that happens over and over. Is the memory recalling a former action into play to bring judgment for that action, and the judgment of that action is to fear it, and it releases all of the hormones in your body. So a lot of things goes on when you deal with post traumatic stress syndrome. Let's talk about it. When you have just ended a relationship with a narcissist, based on the many years that you've been with them, because they got something also called CPTSD, and that is more traumatic than PTSD. Let's talk about PTSD, and then we'll talk about CTPSD on another video that I'm going to do after this. And what they are saying, it is an anxiety disorder that develops in reaction to an injury, a severe mental or emotional distress. When you are in a narcissistic relationship, all of that fit this category because you never know the person. You can be with them for 5 years, and because they mirror you and they always transfer out their emotions, they never keep their emotion. They're in a cycle system of transferring. If you notice, when you got with the narcissist, you was once caring, you was once giving, you was once confident, but the longer you stay with them, you start to lose who you are because you can't do anything right. They always gaslight you. They always accusing you. And the more you accomplish, they begin to mock that and get jealous of that. And they always tear down anything you try to do. So you are finding yourself trying to please, trying to accomplish, to the point you start believing that something is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. He always transfer what they are. And if you notice, the longer you stay with the narcissist, their emptiness become your emptiness, their pain become your pain, and their need to want to be loved now is your need to want to be loved. You felt love in the love bombing, but if you notice, since then you have not. You've always reaching for love. Excuse me, needed to get a little drink here. You're always reaching for love. They know it's something you want and it's something they crave, but their inability to house it, to grasp it, they can't even receive it. You give it to them and they can't keep it on a permanent basis. They can't even house it. It's like you give it to them and it falls through this hole because they have an inability to love. You have all the abilities to love, to receive love. It brings jealousy to them, and that jealousy and injury to them, and that injury caused them to torment you. And so what it is a reordering of your neural networks and your pathway and your sensory pathways so that you can survive difficult and dangerous and life-threatening things. So different hormones goes off in your body, and the brain start communicating with itself when endangerment comes. You don't know all of that is happening. You just feel charged. You don't know whether to run. You don't know whether to stay. And so what happened is the fight or flight start coming into motion. And this consistency of fight, or flight start bringing self-doubt. It start making you wondering whether you are all right, because you don't know whether to stand, you don't know whether to sit, you don't know whether to go please them, you don't know whether to sit back, you don't know whether to hug them, you don't know whether to kiss them, you don't know whether to fix food, you don't know anything, because once upon a time everything you did that was wrong was once right. It was the thing that thrilled them, the thing that excited them, the thing that got them elated about you. They hate every bit of it. They accuse you of it. Now you're trying to force feed them yourself. And they're saying, you're bothering me, you're smothering me. And the truth of it is, every time you tried to leave, they stalked you, gaslight you, called you, was constantly hoovering you until you gave in. Many of you gave in because of stalking pressure and hoovering pressure. And sometimes, like the covert narcissist, he goes out. Everybody think they're wonderful and they think you are crazy because you got the man of your life. You got the woman of your life. And then when the doors close, you are living in a living hell every single day until you cannot sleep. And this PTSD cause you not to sleep. And in your mind, it's constantly turning over the memory banks of what happens. And then what happens is all of your emotions kick in. Your smell sensory kick in. Your feel sensory kick in. And you find yourself traumatized like a soldier who go to war. My late husband was in 3 wars, and I watched what he went through. He would jump in the night. He would moan in his sleep because he always relived that. And I had to really pray for him to get that over. And that's a camaraderie that is with these soldiers that have been to war. I mean, they have a bond where the narcissist is bonded to their mindset. They're bonded to their ways. They fight every day in their mind, and you can sometimes see the fight in their life. Especially you can see the emptiness. If you ever had the narcissistic stare, that emptiness that is inside of them, when that stare comes, you look in their eyes, whatever doubt you have no doubt in your mind. You can't explain it, but it is vicious, is hateful, and you're thinking, why would he look at me like that? What was that? Once you get it, you will never forget it. You will never forget that stare, because you will always question, why did he look at me like that? Why did she stare at me like that? And it seemed like it goes through your soul with hatred of you. It doesn't bring you joy. Now listen to this. When you get, the brain changes when you get under tremendous stress. Most of you got cortisol. It is running all through your body. Stress. That stress hormone that is at an all-time high. And you know that you gain weight around the lower mid part of your belly. Your heart is always palpitating. You're always wondering. You're always doubting. When he's at work, you're thinking all day, what is he going to be like? What is she going to be like when she come home? What do I need to do? You don't know what to do. People have been married to narcissists for 50 years. They have the same concern as the person who was been married to the narcissist for 5 years. They never felt that they had the narcissist. They never felt that the narcissist was loyal to them. They felt this mechanical body laying next to them like an android. You never feel the warmness coming from them, the compassion coming from them. They do things and it doesn't register in their mind that you're in pain. They don't care. They know that you hurt. And that's why you ask why. Once you leave them, it is not over. That's why many of you will go and get you until you demagnetize. That's what needs to happen. You need to demagnetize. And when you demagnetize, you have to get to the core. What drew him at first? What drew her at first? That has to be dealt with so you won't draw another narcissist, because many of you fill in that void. And even when you go NC, you still got that void. And many of you will go get another relationship to try to prove that relationship can work, because the last one didn't work, and because you feel that it's all your fault, you go get another one. And until you demagnetize, you're not going to draw anything, because you have now become what the narcissists say that you were, because you believe them. You stayed long enough, and he was like a tape recorder saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over in your mind. When this happened, the prefrontal lobe cortex, which it slows down information when you are stressed. It can't keep up and get that information to the brain fast enough, because it's that cortisol slows you down. If you notice that when you go into shock treatment or you go into fear, you notice your words, sometimes you stumble over your words get slurred, you almost get into a word salad phase, you're trying to explain it, you cannot get it out. That's what happened. The changes happen in your prefrontal cortex when this happens. When you get excited, when you get disturbed, when you don't get enough sleep, your frontal lobe is affected. Narcissistic relationship affects you physically, it affects you mentally, it affects you socially, it affects the way you see, it affects the way you hear. You no longer hear what you used to hear the way you used to hear it. It can be the same words, but now you don't hear it the same way. When you see things, you don't even see things the same way. And because what you saw was so denied that you saw, now you're unsure of everything you see. So you are doubting all of your sensory gate. Your frontal lobe, your prefrontal lobe cortex begin to react and respond where it begin to react. to the things that you're doing, the stress that you're feeling. And even when you're talking to yourself, when you start talking to yourself and saying, you are so stupid, why did you do that? You are not stupid. You got to remember, your ears believe what your mouth says. Your ears. It doesn't matter if anybody else believe it. You believe it. If you keep saying you're stupid, your brain is going to transpose that into your mind. And you got to remember, the mind, which is consist of your mind, your will, and your emotions. And these three elements is part of the mind, and it has two realms that lodges information in the subconscious, the conscious, and the unconscious level. The subconscious in the frontal, the conscious in the frontal. The subconscious is the mediator. It's the mediator between what's conscious and what's unconscious. Then the unconscious, which lie back dormant and just get information that has not been brought back to the subconscious, that has not been applied. And something has to trigger, information start coming through the channels to the subconscious, to the frontal lobe, out into your life. And so stress is not good. MPD relationships are all, and it's really not relationship. Relationship means to relate. We can relate to one another. You are not, that narcissist is not relating to you. Everything they do is for their benefit. If they do a favor for you, on the end of that favor is tied a benefit package for the narcissist. And a lot of times we want to believe, because it's hard to believe I can spend 40 years with someone, 30 years with someone, 50 years. I have one who was 60 years. And out of 60 years, he left her. After 60 years, he stayed up where he wasn't there consistently, but he didn't leave. He would go and come back. One day he left and he didn't come back after 60 years, because old narcissists, which we're going to talk about, always try to recapture what is gone. Because things start leaving them. They don't have the same finesse. They don't have the same energy. So they tried to get it younger and better. They dye their hair just to play the same game. A narcissist's inability to love and their ability to hurt, their ability to bruise causes brain damage. The brain is subjected to this torment. And you got to remember, the brain takes everything as a reality. What the brain see with your mind's eye, at that time the brain experience it. If it's a smell, you could smell the smell. If it's a taste, you could taste the taste. The brain bring a reality to your mind, and your mind bring a reality to your life. If what you keep in your mind stay long enough, it's going to activate in your life, whether it's a reality or non-reality. And you got to remember, because the narcissists live such a non-reality, they would triple the wire, then cause you to fall over into that imaginary world. But they, in that imaginary world, once they get you over there, they torment you for not coming. They torment you for slow coming. Then they torment you once you get there, because whatever they're experiencing will be what you engage in. And the narcissist is empty. They're always tormented. They're always tormented. How can you be tormented with a God of love that tell you the basis and the core ethics of where they are? And if you think you're going to change a narcissist, you would be destroyed before that happened. They have to want to change, but you can't change if you can't look in yourself and want to change. You have to want to change. And the thing is, a narcissist thinks they're perfect. A narcissist thinks there's something wrong with everybody else. If the narcissist thinks there's something wrong with everybody else, how can they change? My dear friend, they won't. They won't. Repentance demands that you look within yourself and say that this is no longer working. The narcissist won't say that's no longer working. They say you are no longer working. And then what happens is, once you get into a flight mode, then The hippocampus, which is where your short-term memory lies. That's why you start forgetting things. You put your keys down in front of you and you wonder where your keys are, or you got your glasses in your hands and you are waving your glasses saying, where are my glasses? They're moving in front of you, but you don't see them. Visible things disappear the longer you stay with a narcissist. Visible characteristics disappear as long as you stay with a narcissist, because then you start to excuse what they do. There was a time you called it out, but you caused narcissistic injury and you pay for every injury. And what they do is, I'm leaving you. I'm going to go sleep with someone else that loves me. I'm going to get new supply that loves me. And they're gone for a week. They're gone for a few days. They're gone even though they're in the house. They are unavailable. They're gone. And then to keep them there, you compromise. And when you compromise, all they do is more of what they've been doing. And what happened is your hippocampus, which is your short-term memory, is no longer fail-safe. It releases the cortisol to tell you something going on here. Something is happening here. It releases the glucose because you need that energy to move. You got to do something. That dopamine, all of your hormones are off balance. And you got to remember, when you first met the narcissist, he got in contact with those hormones. The dopamine, the oxytocin, he got in contact with them. Everything that he needed that was going to help him, those endorphins, he got in contact with. And the serotonin, which brings that calmness, the soothness, he got in contact with all of that. All of that is out of whack. The longer you stay with them, all of your hormonal level is off the scale. Your humanity cannot handle that. And then you wonder why PTSD shows up in your life. Certain sounds when a soldier comes back from war, you drop a pot, boom, and the soldier hit the floor, wham, because he's been trained for several years consecutively. On the war ground, you never really sleep. You lightweight sleep because the enemy can come in any time. On the war ground, you got to always be cognizant that somebody's there to take your life. And you got to be sharp. You got to know your environment, because you're not protecting only you. You're protecting everybody with you. It's a team effort. And so when they hear bombs, when they smell bombs, and there's rotten flesh everywhere, you can cook something and it reminds them, he'll regurgitate and he can't eat, because all of the sensories are involved. Honey, you have been through a war in relationship. You never left the country and you've been through a war, and you are showing all of the trauma of someone who went through war. You have to fight back by getting yourself back. When you are dealing with PTSD, you need a professional, someone like my daughter, Dr. Carmen Bryant, someone like myself. You need to get to the root of that, because all of your sensories are involved. When you leave the narcissist, it's not over. You say, why do I crave him? Because you're trained to crave. Your hormones are still there. You're addicted to him. And like drugs, that hormone works. And it works with what the desire was. Every addiction is tied to a desire. Whatsoever things you desire, when you pray, you start praying to God and you start praying to the narcissist. Why? Because that's a conversation piece. So the narcissist becomes your conversation piece. He gets your full attention. He gets your full desire. He gets all your admiration. He gets all of your dreams. He takes all of your hope, and he gets everything. And you are like someone who lived in a bombed shelter. Everything is gone, but evidence that you've been bombed. That is still there. You have to get up and fight back. I'm an advocate that when you have been through trauma, you have to reassess the brain. You have to get the brain where it can heal. Many people say the brain cannot heal. The brain was designed to heal itself. You just may need some help. There are exercises for the hippocampus to get that short-term memory back and get over into your long-term memory. Because what happens is the hippocampus, which is your short-term memory, go to the amygdala. I think that's amygdala. And it is the traffic cop. It gets the information to all of your senses. It gets the information to all of your senses. So the amygdala, what it does is it gets that information, it pushes it through. And how does it pushes it through? It pushes it through and it get the message to the hippocampus, and the hippocampus get it to the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus get it to the pituitary glands, and the pituitary glands get it to your adrenaline glands, and they get the release valve of the stress hormone to let you know they're in trouble. The stress hormone was supposed to keep you so you can come out, but you keep getting it and 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 getting it over and over again. What happened? Your digestive system starts to shut down. Your metabolism start to shut down. Your heart rate start to go up. Your kidneys don't function properly because of the stress. Some of you start to actually retain water. You start losing memory because the hippocampus can't get it. Your short-term memory is starting to be affected by this. Your eye gate, because of the brain has been scarred. The information is slow. When the information is slow, it triggers something. It triggers something on the inside of you. It triggers when you can't get rid of all that stress. Guess what happened? Tiredness. You lose energy. When you lose energy, you start becoming hopeless. And when you start becoming hopeless, your brain tells you you felt better with the narcissist. You felt energized with the narcissist. And the reason the brain tell you that, because when the narcissist come, you got energy to try to please them. You got energy to try to do something for them because you was always in the winning mode. You never had your husband. You had to always win your husband. How is it that you live as a wife and you have to win your husband? That's crazy, isn't it? That's a crazy mindset. We have a covenant. You belong to me and I belong to you. That's not the way it is. NPD. And most women know with NPD, they start allowing their husband to be shared. Abraham, Isaac, and Hagar. Jacob, Leah, and Rachel. And that. The only breaking we saw is when Isaac had Rebekah. He was the curse breaker. You have to start violating curses on your life. Anything that is short of who you are is a curse. Anything that takes away from who you are is a curse. You are so fearfully and wonderfully made. You are so glorious. Do you know the greatest computer cannot outmatch your thinking? You can talk at 1,500 words a minute. You can speak 1,500 words a minute. And you can think in the spirit at the speed of light, quicker than the speed of light. Light can be measured. God goes beyond measurable light. And you in God. So what he is, you are. But what the narcissist done is take you from the realm that you really are, that is going to take you in abundance, that's going to take you beyond the norm, that's going to cause you to excel and bring you into a realm of a slow down phase. Everything you got slowed down. Your dreams slow down, they go to nil. Your finances slow down, it goes to nil. Your heart rate start acting crazy, body start acting crazy. Women, your cycle goes off. You're not regular anymore because of the stress, or it just stops. altogether, or you are having a constant cycle, stressed in the body. Men, your erectile is just dysfunctional. You're not even taking high blood pressure medication. Then some of you have went to high blood medication because you're stressed. You are stressed out. All of these things happen when you're stressed. All of these hormones go off the wire. You can't keep living like this. This stuff will kill you if you don't get your body in balance. And if you notice, you get older, the narcissist gets younger. They don't need a lot of sleep because you stressed out. So they take your energy and they sleep. And the few hours they get, they are ready to go. They jump up and they're energetic. And you haven't slept until your eyeballs hurt. Your eyes hurt. You went to the doctor, you got glasses, but your eyes hurt. Your brain hurt. Your heart hurt. Your goals are disappointed. Your dreams are disappointed. When the narcissist discard you or you escape, PTSD is after the fact. You're getting it during your relationship, and they call it the silent killer. They call it the cries in the night. Because while the PSD is being built on the inside of your brain, and you going through everything, the trauma, the rape, the discard, some of you physical violation, mental violation, psychotic episodes, unsure moments, gaslighting moments, he just ghost out, fade out, and you just lose yourself. While this is happening, you don't even know it's happening. You got PTSD when it's over, when you get out. Most of you, when you get out, all the symptoms come. Because when they diagnose you with PTSD in the relationship, that means the PTSD is going to become greater because you're going to constantly get tortured. You're going to constantly get gaslighted. You're going to constantly get accusation and lies. You're going to constantly get the deception. Some of you get the rape. They don't want it willing. They rape you because they need to tear down your character and make you feel like nothing. Then they leave and go somewhere else. As long as you're there, PTSD, there's no healing for it. Because you will literally have to disassociate yourself out of a realm and none exist while you're there. That would be almost impossible. Because he won't stop until you react, not respond. React until you explode and back them off. Pressure, extreme pressure is in that relationship. Those of you who have escaped, those of you who have been discarded, you must get help. And don't be afraid to get help. There's nothing wrong with getting help. The trauma you've been through has been really tremendous. And sometimes we just need the proper assessment of where we've been so we'll know what to do about it. And we can hit core roots of your pain and heal. I promise you, you will heal. NC will help you. But there are times you will crave them. There are times you're going to want to hear them because they affected all of your sensory. And all of your sensory will still crave them, but you can affect the mind because the sensory responds to the mind. Get you a book. Read positive stories. Stay with these videos. Don't ever stop the videos. Keep the videos coming because the moment you lose information, you lose strength. And when you lose strength, you're going to respond. You'll respond to a Hoover or you'll make yourself be Hoover by making yourself visible to the narcissist. And anybody who ever went back has always regretted that they did because it's horrible. The relationship get worse each time you go back. It won't get better. And there is nothing you can make it better. You can't lose weight. You can't get a new hairstyle. You can give him all your money until your bank is empty and he's still going to leave and go somewhere else. A narcissist is a narcissist is a narcissist. And you have to deal with the fact of MPD. And you cannot die in the midst of it. You have to live. Post-traumatic stress syndrome. There's help for you. When you get to the core, they teach you how to deal with post-traumatic stress syndrome. Spiritually, we know that all things are possible to him that believe. We will build a system of faith and get that system operating, because a system operates consistently. And once you get a system in place, different programs goes into that system to change it, to cause it to function. We will get you programmed, we will get you programmed, we will get you programmed, and we will keep programming your mind until, like the narcissist program your mind, we will reprogram your mind to life. We will reprogram your mind to hope. We will reprogram your mind to who you are, and the best you will come forward. I am so looking forward when you look in the mirror and you actually love what you see. And the narcissist is like an echo in the dark, a voice eliminator, an eye eliminator, a heart eliminator. We just eliminate. He faded. No, this is a true fade. The final discard never happened by the narcissist. It's always you who does the final discard. And the final discard is saying, I'm done. I'm complete. I'm out. I hope this video has been a blessing to you. Please put your comments at the bottom. I'm so looking forward to it. If you have not just subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Push the bell, and every time I do new videos, that bell will tell you she's on, she's doing it. And please like and share the page. We know other folk who need help like we got help. And we were free, and so were they. Because you can be a tremendous channel to someone else's healing. I'm Helen Sadler, your Destiny Helper.